Have you ever looked at the Times Rich list and wondered what people are actually doing that you aren't? While the average person in the is watching their disposable income get shredded by 2.8% inflation and a frozen 30.75% Bank of England base rate, the wealthiest individuals are quietly pulling further and further ahead. It feels like the system is rigged, doesn't it? Every time you get a pay rise, fiscal drag eats half of it. Every time you save a bit of cash, a bill swallows the rest. But here is the brutal truth about wealth in modern Britain. The rich don't get richer because they work 10 times harder than you. They get richer because they operate on an entirely different financial operating system. They exploit the legal tax loopholes, the asset classes, and the corporate structures that the high street banks keep quiet about. Today, I am pulling back the curtain on the mechanics of wealth. I am going to show you exactly how the rich get richer right now, and more importantly, how you can use their playbook to start growing your own fortune. Welcome to the Money Mad. Let's look at the real rules of the game. Pillar 1 is the shift from income to asset-backed growth. The average person believes the path to wealth is getting a high-paying job. They think if they can just climb the corporate ladder to £80,000 or £100,000 a year, they'll be rich. But the wealthy know that a salary is the most heavily taxed and inefficient way to build fortune in this country. If you earn a high salary, you are trapped in the system. You pay up to 45% income tax, plus national insurance. The rich do not focus on earning an income, they focus on owning assets. They understand that under the current UK tax regime, capital gains tax, the tax you pay when an asset increases in value, is significantly lower than income tax. While a high earner faces a top income tax bracket of 45%, the highest rate of capital gains tax on shares is vastly lower. By structuring their wealth so it grows through capital appreciation and dividends rather than a monthly payslip, the rich instantly keep a massive percentage of their wealth out of the taxman's hands. They use holding companies and corporate wrappers to receive revenues, paying the lower corporation tax rate rather than personal income tax. To get on their level, you have to stop thinking like a wage earner and start thinking like an asset collector. Your goal should be to convert as much of your active daily labor into income-producing assets as fast as humanly possible. Pillar 2 is leveraging the concept of good debt to buy appreciating assets. Most of us are taught from childhood that all debt is bad. We are told to avoid credit cards, pay off loans, and live completely within our means. And for consumer debt, like financing a shiny new Audi on a PCP deal or putting a holiday on a credit card. That rule is absolutely correct. But the rich view debt completely differently. They don't use debt to buy things that lose value. They use debt as an accelerator to buy things that make money. In the UK property market, the wealthy use the buy-to-let framework and commercial property leverage to compound their wealth. Instead of saving up £500,000 to buy one property outright, a wealthy investor will take that same £500,000, split it into 5 separate £100,000 deposits, and borrow £2 million from the banks to buy 5 properties. They let the tenants pay off the interest and the principal mortgages, while they capture the capital growth on £2.5 million worth of real estate, instead of just 500,000. With interest rates sitting at 3.75% in June 2026, the spread between the cost of borrowing and the yield on high-quality assets is where the rich mint their millions. They are using the bank's money to generate private wealth, utilizing a legal system of leverage that magnifies their gains while minimizing their personal capital risk. Pillar 3 is institutionalizing their personal finances through the ultimate wrappers. While the average person might occasionally open a basic savings account at their local building society, the wealthy view their financial structure as a highly optimized corporate network. They maximize every single government-sanctioned tax shelter to its absolute limit before a single penny touches the open market. They don't just put a bit of spare change into an ISA. They max out the full £20,000 stocks and shares ISA allowance on day one of the tax year to maximize the time their money spends compounding tax-free. They don't just accept the standard workplace pension match. They use a self-invested personal pension, or SIP, to build a customized low-fee portfolio of global equities and commercial property, grabbing up to 45% tax relief from the government on their contributions. Furthermore, they utilize family structures. They utilize the junior ISA allowances for their children and open SIPs for non-earning partners to multiply the amount of wealth that can grow completely shielded from tax. By the time the taxman looks at a wealthy family's balance sheet, the vast majority of their wealth has been legally routed through these fortresses, leaving almost nothing exposed to the standard rates of taxation that drain the middle class. Pillar 4 is exploiting the asymmetry of private equity and venture capital. When the average person wants to invest in the stock market, they are restricted to the public markets. Buying shares in companies that are already massive, mature, and listed on the London Stock Exchange. While this is a fantastic way to safely compound wealth over time, the explosive growth has often already happened by the time a company goes public. The rich get richer because they have access to the private markets through schemes heavily incentivized by the UK government to encourage enterprise. I am talking about the Enterprise Investment Scheme, or EIS, and the Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme, known as SEIS. These are specialized frameworks designed for investing in early-stage, high-growth British startups. To sweeten the deal for wealthy investors, the government offers mind-blowing tax incentives. With EIS, you can receive up to 30% income tax relief on your investment, and with SEIS, it is an incredible 50%. That means if a wealthy individual invests £10,000 into a qualifying tech startup, the government effectively hands them £5,000 back on their tax bill. And if that startup hits the big time and explodes in value, any capital gains made on those shares are completely tax-free. If the company fails, they can even claim loss relief against their income tax. It is a completely asymmetric bet where the government cushions the downside and completely exempts the upside. This is how the wealthy turn thousands into millions while simultaneously wiping out their annual tax liabilities. Pillar 5 is the generational wealth loop through estate and inheritance tax planning. The final piece of the puzzle is making sure that once the wealth is built, it never leaves the family tree. The average British family often ignores inheritance tax planning until it is far too late, resulting in a brutal 40% tax bill on everything above the threshold when parents pass away. The rich, however, start planning their legacy decades in advance. They understand the 7-year rule inside out. In the UK, you can gift unlimited amounts of capital or property to your children. And as long as you survive for 7 years after making the gift, that wealth moves entirely outside of your estate for inheritance tax purposes. The rich use discretionary trusts and family-limited partnerships to pass the legal ownership of assets down to the next generation while retaining control over how that money is managed and spent. They invest heavily in agricultural land or business property that qualifies for business property relief, which can offer up to 100% relief from inheritance tax. By treating their family wealth not as individual money to be spent, but as a multi-generational corporate trust to be managed, the rich ensure that the compounding machine never resets to zero. Each generation starts further ahead than the last, creating an unstoppable compounding loop. The rich get richer because they stop playing the game by the employee's rules and start playing by the owner's rules. They stop chasing a higher salary and start chasing asset ownership. They use smart leverage to multiply their gains, shield their wealth inside institutional wrappers, exploit high-growth private equity tax incentives, and plan their estate across generations. You don't need millions to start adopting this mindset. You can start today by switching your focus from consumption to ownership. Every pound you move out of your current account and into a stocks and shares ISA to buy a global index fund is a pound that has officially moved into the wealthy operating system. You are taking control, minimizing the drag on your money, and letting the power of global compounding start working for you instead of against you. If this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of UK wealth opened your eyes and gave you a brand new perspective on how to manage your cash, do me a huge favor. Smash that like button right now. It tells the algorithm that this content matters and helps us bypass the mainstream financial noise to reach more people across the country. Subscribe to The Money Mad to make sure you never miss our weekly playbooks on building real freedom in the modern UK economy. I want to know your thoughts, so drop a comment down below. Which of these 5 wealth pillars are you going to start implementing in your own financial strategy this month? Are you going to look into maximizing your SIP, focus heavily on asset accumulation, or start cleaning up your personal balance sheet? Let's get a conversation going and build our knowledge together in the comments section. Make sure to check out our other videos on how to beat fiscal drag and the ultimate breakdown of the tax allowances. Stop working for the banks, start owning the market, and stay money mad.